Hello everyone and welcome to the other side Watchalong. Sorry for the delay, we are finally here. There was a few technical difficulties as there usually is with everything and everything. Seems like we do have a big change in the overlay, which I'm not entirely sure why. I didn't expect that to be the case. It's not necessarily a big problem. So we'll just let it be, I think. But yeah, it's an interesting one. We're missing a few things, aren't we? For the live stream there. There you go. That should fix one thing, and then that should fix the next thing. There you go. Awesome. All right, we're all good to go. There are no problems at all. And yeah. Although we are a little bit late, we're just in time for a glorious red flag. Just trying to see who that is, who's caused that red flag. Is it a damaged barrier potentially instead? Or has Ocon just come out and maybe he's in the pit lane because the graphics put him there? I didn't quite get to see what was going on. Who is it? We don't know why it's red, they're saying, with the Ferraris. Not entirely sure why the red flag, so just be cautious. So, it's an interesting one. Debris at turn 12, it says, so that's right outside the castle section. It's going to be an easy place to get some dirt on the circuit. I think maybe someone's run over the curb. That could be possible. Very easily done. But still, it's a little bit unclear. It means everybody's going to go into the pit lane so the marshals can clear that up. They've got Hamilton to go through yet. And then everybody's going to have to wait a bit. The clock won't stop because it's practice. It won't stop. It will continue. So they're going to miss out on about 5 minutes of practice one. Of course, they do get other practice sessions, which will be absolutely fine. But yeah, that's a little bit of a early stop to the first stint of the session, which is a bit of a shame. But we do have other things we can talk about. I'm just getting that on my screen now. We've got the Azerbaijan Grand Prix circuit, of course, which is what we're racing at today, or we're driving at today, racing at this weekend. It's an incredible circuit for kind of dynamic racing. It can bring anybody into the mix, and the track's very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for a certain team as well, Red Bull, compared to the other cars. They seem to be able to benefit a lot. Also, I'm interested to see how Mercedes go, because we saw in Italy they had a very, very, very good qualifying car. Or was that the Netherlands? Anyway, they had a very good qualifying car, it seemed to be, but in the race they just weren't able to keep it together since the summer break in Belgium, where they actually did have a very good race car. So I don't know what they've done with that one, but the Ferrari just looks incredibly strong, and they can pick up on any mistakes that the McLaren makes, but the McLaren overall is the fastest car, so they should be able to get the job done here as long as they can get qualifying sorted. Although we do know that Leclerc is a bit of a qualifying master around here. It's set from 2019. I think he's had a couple poles here. At least he's had definitely a pole position here and led for a few laps, but it wasn't really in a competitive car. It was in the 21 car. I don't know if he maybe got pole also in 22. But he obviously had some sort of engine failure. I don't know what session that would have been, if it was the race. I think it was the race. I don't think it was in qualifying. So, yeah, mixed results for Leclerc overall, but he can go very well here. And I'm sure he will go very well here. And going very well here, hoping to be, is Oliver Bearman, who's returning back to Formula 1 for one weekend only in 2024. I say only. We never know. It could change very quickly. But he'll get some good experience. Why no read? Unfortunately, the message didn't actually come up, so I don't actually know what you said. I'll try and see if I can see what you said. I'll be checking that as soon as I can. Because Sonoda not too happy. Lance Stroll was not very happy either with their car earlier on in the session. Which isn't ideal. But we'll see how it goes, and we can check that out. There you go. Right, sorry. A big delay in the commentary. I'm all over the place trying to fix all these technical difficulties. I've got a few things that I'm trying to sync up, which are difficult to deal with. But we are going again, once again, out on track, which is good. We'll see if we can get any more red flags in a few moments' time, as it will be very easy to do so for a lot of cars. It's a circuit that is, as I said earlier, very dynamic. It can change a lot, but also drivers can make mistakes. There are a lot of runoff areas, which means drivers can kind of back out of any mistake that they may make, but you know, it's Formula 1, they don't want to back out, they want to get the job done, and sometimes it goes horribly wrong. In recent years, it hasn't gone horribly wrong so much. 2021, of course, there was some punctures, which weren't really driver faults, it was just kind of a maybe team fault. I don't know if it would be a tyre fault. The tyres are kind of designed to be a certain way, so the teams have to kind of react accordingly. But I can't quite remember the details on that situation, so I will not really go too much more on that. But all this kind of opportunity for making mistakes also means that other cars that maybe wouldn't be up front can get further up. Right now we've got Verstappen leading the way in the session, which is impressive considering that we didn't think that they would have the best car. They are on their original set of mediums, or a worn set of mediums, which is good to see for them, of course. I say good to see for them, it makes literally no difference, but they're just trying to make these tyres go again, make them work a little bit more. And we'll once again try and sort through some technical difficulties, and we'll make sure this is all good for the FP2 session, which we will be once again streaming, which will be good to get into. And there is that all sorted. Looking at the timings, we can see Leclerc's up there, Hülkenberg again up there, just absolutely smashing it right now. That Haas engine seemed to be pretty powerful. Sector 1 for the Haas in the Italian Grand Prix was just awesome. But in the middle sector, it really was hurt big time. So around this circuit, it's going to be difficult. Maybe the first sector, the fast sector of all the straights, that could be good for the Haas. But for the rest of the circuit, it's going to be about hustling the car. And I don't know if the Haas is going to be able to do that, to be honest. And unfortunately, I think they've basically only got Oliver. No, they've only got Hülkenberg to really give them good data. Oliver Behrman's going to be great to put in the car now, of course, but it's going to be not the best information for the circuit in the moment, of course. It's more Oliver will be learning for himself, which is a bit difficult. Esteban Ocon having an issue, unfortunately. Not entirely sure what's gone on there. Is he back into the circuit? No, he's on the straight, going very slowly. His teammate is catching up and goes past, so he's pulling off to the circuit, off to the left. And I think he'll make it back into the pit lane, so we shouldn't need a safety car or a virtual, sorry, yellow flags. We shouldn't need a red flag either. It just means that everybody can go through at normal pace. But yeah, that's not the way you want to start an FP1. It's better to have it now rather than qualifying all the race, of course, so they can try and fix it. But 38 minutes still on the clock. Maybe they can sort something out and get them back on track, but that pretty much does mean that that session will be done. They'll have about, that'll be about 3 hours in between the two sessions, FP1 and FP2. So they would have time to try and sort through a problem in that gap as well. So yeah, they're just going to have to spend a little bit more time on fixing a problem. They'll seem to be in too much of a rush. They just kind of let it be at the moment. Just trying to see what happened to Ocon there. I think his engine just dropped down. We've got a slow-moving Ferrari, as you'll be able to see on the screen. That is Carlos Sainz, turn 7, just before the castle section, just making a bit of a mistake. Does mean that the cars behind are probably going to have to slow down on their laps. Colapinto goes through. He's in his second Grand Prix this year, second Grand Prix ever. Did a very good job in Monza. Would he be able to do a good job in Azerbaijan? I don't think, if I'm correct in saying he hasn't driven here ever before. So to get into Formula 1 car drive here for the first time is going to be crazy. But also he's got to go and do it all over again in Singapore. And the latter part of the season as well will have a lot of circuits that you don't really go to in the junior categories, at least in F2. So Franco Colapinto has got his work cut out for him for the rest of this season. It's going to be very hard for him to deal with. Two of the possibly most difficult circuits back to back with Singapore and Azerbaijan. Carlos Sainz was pretty lucky to keep that one out the wall right there, but he manages to keep it out of the barrier, as I say, and should be absolutely fine. It's such an icy cold circuit, this one, so I think that's maybe why he locked up. I know Charles Leclerc's having a bit of an issue, as the circuit is just kind of, it's just walls left and right. Of course, the sun is blocked a little bit, there's trees everywhere. It means the circuit temperature kind of goes down. It's not the warmest, I don't think, but also it's later in the year now, so would that say we've got even less temperature on the circuit? It means that cars will be sliding a lot more chance of mistakes as well. Could be pretty catastrophic if that is the case. Looking at the timings again, Leclerc now beats Verstappen by 2.5 tenths. Done a very good job to do that. Hamilton a bit further behind. It is FP1 after all. We've got a soft tyre on for Perez now, who's going to go and try and do some quick laps, I guess. The only driver that will be on the soft tyre, I believe. And he's on his way out of the pit lane to try and get this lap done. Obviously the soft will be able to warm up quite quickly as well. Ricciardo has got himself to P4, which is a good job. In the meantime, Hamilton's gone purple in the first sector. So the Mercedes looking pretty quick at the moment. Can he try and get a good result this weekend? They didn't set a quicker lap, but they did go and set that purple up. Of course, purple last sector there for George Russell, who sets a quicker lap, but still is 6 tenths away from Verstappen there. So it's a decent pace in that final sector, but no good if you're going to be so slow or so much slower later on. Verstappen's going quicker, looking to try and improve. Doesn't look like they're going purple anywhere at the moment. Maybe in the final sector they could show it, but they are just trying to get the lap in. They don't go faster in that final sector, but they do catch up massively. Charles Leclerc, and now they're less than half a tenth away. We've got Tsunoda, who just pushes himself up the order, which is good to see as well. Both RBs looking quick. Would that be showing that they can do a good job this weekend with all the controversy that could happen with the nature of this circuit? and people crashing into the wall. Daniel Ricciardo won in 2017 because people were crashing out. Maybe it was a little bit of a intentional crash. That is going to be a bit of a crash. You'll see it in a second on the timing data, and Charles Leclerc has just hit the barrier at turn 15. It was inevitable. We were going to see a crash at that corner. I do not believe it. I do believe it. It's a shame that it was Charles Leclerc because it was going so well. That's another red flag, and that's going to be a bigger red flag, a longer red flag, because that barrier is going to have to be rebuilt. He gets out the car and he's all good. But that was, yeah, a little bit of anticipated crash right there. And unfortunately, Charles Leclerc has been claimed and will be out of this session. Will they be able to get that fixed for the second practice session? I think they can. He's hit it front on, so not a rearward crash that would affect the gearbox, damage the suspension, the front right suspension and the front wing, but that shouldn't be a massive problem and they can fix that quite nicely. So yeah, that's disappointing for a man that looks to be very, very quick, but maybe pushing the limits, and if he can learn from that for the rest of the weekend, maybe he can go even quicker. But yeah, that is a shame. See if we can get a replay as if he locked up into the corner. Yeah, just a bit too late maybe, and unfortunately didn't back out in time and sent it into the corner. Yeah, and that is him in the barrier, unfortunately. Once again, easily done. Easy to crash around this circuit. And we found our first victim. Debris, of course, on the circuit earlier on. That's why we had the original red flag. I got Hamilton once again last out on track since the first red flag as well, just making his way through the circuit. Once he goes through, then they can start work on that barrier. They can start working on getting Leclerc's car off the circuit. It is only a short way off the circuit with that runoff, but they aren't really in the runoff. Are they going to try and roll it up the hill? No, they'll get a crane on that and they'll take it safely. Alrighty. Now, the red flag is once again out, so we've got to try and find something else to talk about. And we will do so. In the meantime, looking at the teams, the news that we have to talk about, of course, with McLaren, as everyone's talking about, although it seems a little bit pointless to chat about, because it's very obvious, they've got the team orders. They've got the team orders in to try and favour Norris. That being said, Piastri has hinted, say for example he was 10 seconds ahead, then they wouldn't switch the cars, which I find very interesting because I don't see the point in that. I think if you're going to do team orders, you're going to do team orders. That's just the way it works. It's not what you want to do, of course, as either driver, because you want to be close to your rival to then be given the position just to show that you are deserving of that position, but I think you just have to kind of take that on the chin. But yeah, is it a little bit too late in the season? Personally, I'd say so. If they really wanted that Drivers' Championship, they didn't need to make that decision at Hungary, of course. It was really difficult. They should have maybe just did the job as it was, and then just played out the rest of the rest of the race, took the points for the team, and then spoken to Oscar about it at the end and just kind of explained the situation and maybe give him a bit of an incentive in the wallet as kind of payback for the situation he was been put in. That would make most sense, really. But I'm not part of the team, so I can't really say too much. I'm just a professional waffler right now. Looking at Ferrari, they are in the form of their life at the moment. I say that they're not dominating races, but they have won 2 this season, and that's a pretty decent amount. We've got Mercedes McLaren, I think McLaren have won 3, Mercedes and Ferrari have won 3. The only team to win more than 3 is Red Bull with 7, all from Max Verstappen. Looking at Red Bull, their car is not looking too bad at the moment. As I said, it is FP1. Very, very early. Too early to say. It's probably going to be too early to say in FP2 as well. But we can definitely have a look. Unfortunately, Perez wasn't able to get a lap done on that soft tyre, or a competitive lap on that soft tyre. So we won't be able to see what their pace would be on that. But we might be able to see what Piastri can do on the soft tyre, because he plonked that tyre on and was ready to go. So once we get that green flag to go again, hopefully we'll be all good, good on the circuit. We've got a clear in turn 15 confirmation. But I think that's just a bit of a bug on the screen right there. So we still don't have confirmation of when this session will continue. Green flag already. We will be going once again. There you go. It says the session will resume, but it's already given us the green flag anyway. So I guess in a few seconds they will get released. I think that's maybe a little bit of a bug. They'll be going once again in about a minute. DRS enabled. No one out on circuit right now, so it'll be about 30 seconds, I reckon, until we'll see a few people coming out on track. And we'll see if we can get some soft tyre runs and see the full pace. That'd be good. Alrighty, just going to double check something. We're all good to go. And hopefully we can get a few cars on circuit. Just had a bit of a situation in the pit lane. A few cars very close to one another. That would be the Haas and the Williams of Colapinto. The Haas of I don't know who, but instead of reacting and avoiding the Williams, they kind of just pointed their car towards them, which is a bit weird, but yeah. It's an interesting one. Either the Haas has got a problem, that is Nico Hulkenberg, or they're just doing a practice start. They have done a practice start. They did get overtaken on pit lane exit, as they could do, but Colapinto did overtake and went out of the track, the pit lane entry limit. So I don't know if they'll be investigated. That might be something that they'll look into. We once again have lots of cars out on track right now, and we do have a few more soft tyre runners, which is good. So it seems like a lot of cars have that kind of program scheduled in for this stage of the session, and we'll get to see a lot of people go faster. Although I said it's too early, if people are going to start to go faster and push these soft tyres a little bit longer, maybe they're looking to see if they can be a race tyre. It is possible. Obviously, you want to try and get track position over a circuit like this, so maybe a soft tyre can work. Maybe they're going for aggressive strategy rather than try and go long on a hard tyre because of the stress that a tyre will have. They don't want to try and kind of just bet on being on one tyre and maybe get a puncture like we saw in 2021, of course. But maybe we'll see a few people push a little bit too hard in the next few minutes on this soft tyre, and we could get another red flag immediately. So we'll see. Will we get a second victim to the madness? And now we get to see a few people once again. set some laps. Lance Stroll is across the line first. On our old set of medium tyres, we do have, that's Colapinto on a fresh set of softs. So all eyes on them. Their first few laps around this circuit ever. And they've got the softs on to go quickly. Alright, we're back. Sorry for the delay right there. We're all good to go. Now, through the castle section. Colapinto looks pretty good. Looks pretty mature. Not really having too many problems. Maybe their teammate can go a lot faster. They've got a good floor of Williams. With that upgrade, of course, in Monza, it seemed to be pretty decent. But would they be able to make it work at a very different circuit? Their straight line speed is no longer such of a benefit, and it's more that they're trying to make things work elsewhere. They're, I think, hopeful right now. Colapinto's getting a lovely slipstream, distant slipstream for sure, off Lance Stroll. And goes across the line to set what kind of lap time. That's a P9 for them right now. 1.2 seconds away from the leaders. And Ricciardo improves. We've got a purple sector from... I was going to say purple sector from Leclerc, but yeah, that's just a graphic that was set earlier on, of course. So yeah, we get Hulkenberg, of course, across the line as well. Behrman has gone and beaten his teammate on a set of soft tyres. Perez goes fastest on that original set of soft tyres that they were meant to try and set a competitive lap time on. So they do what they needed to do, but they have only gone 0.02 of a second ahead of Leclerc, who was on an old set of mediums. Only a few tenths ahead, or not even a few tenths, just a very short margin ahead of their teammate as well in the same car. Piastri has immediately destroyed that, and Norris has destroyed Piastri. So 2.5 tenths ahead of his teammate. All these soft tyres running in right now. We're going to get a few more cars over the lines as well. We'll see what they can do. Gasly's on a fresh set of mediums, so we're not going to expect them to be too much quicker. But they do go purple in that final sector. So Esteban Ocon in the garage, but here Gasly looking pretty decent. And could have some good pace in the race. Lance Stroll already goes around the circuit once again. And is setting more kind of race laps on this medium tyre, where it looks like the Williams have just completed more of a qualifying run right there, with Colapinto at least, and probably Albon beaten by his teammate right now, despite being on exactly the same tyre, 1.8 seconds away from the leaders, with a, that is 47.901 for Colapinto, whereas a 47.955 for Albon. It's incredibly small margins, about half a tenth, but it still does show that Colapinto's done a good job. Considering his experience around this circuit and his experience in a Formula 1 car, he's absolutely cooking. Not only does Alex Albon have experience in this car over multiple seasons, but he's got experience in 2 other Formula 1 cars previously. In 2019, we'll be saying how he is the most inexperienced driver on the grid, never driving a Formula 1 car until he turned up to the scene in 2021. But now he's got that few years under his belt, and he should be good to go, should be able to extract a lot of performance out of any car that he gets in. Alrighty. We've got a yellow flag. And that is going to be Colapinto, unfortunately, into the wall. So he must have been on a cooldown lap, started once again. So as I was just praising Colapinto for his good work, he's put it into the barrier. And now we're going to get another red flag, the third red flag of the session. I can't say I'm surprised. That's what I was kind of looking for around this circuit. I was excited for this weekend, and it's definitely not disappointing. Not for the team's sake, of course, it's a bad thing that we're getting these crashes, but of course, 3 red flags already. One which was for no crash, but now we do have a crash, of course, from Leclerc and now Colapinto. Hopefully they're okay. We'll just double check and see. They look like they're okay. Although James Vowles doesn't look like he's okay. Not very pleased with the situation. You've got to kind of expect it, to be honest. It's a very, very difficult circumstance that they've been put into. No hate at all to Franco Colapinto. Nice one, Frantic. Nice one. We're getting famous, I guess. We're getting famous. Alrighty. Yeah, that's kind of an expected moment, not because they're bad at all, because they aren't a bad driver at all, but because Franco Colapinto is so inexperienced around this circuit and in Formula 1, like, you can't really expect too much. It was probably going to happen at some point over the weekend. Lots of drivers will be doing it, regardless of if you're a rookie or not. So, yeah. Was it still the right call to put Colapinto in the car over Logan Sargent for Azerbaijan and Singapore, where Logan's got a race distance in at those circuits in the car already? I don't know. It's 50-50. But it definitely kind of puts them in exactly the same situation that they kind of didn't want to be in the first place. Once again, Hamilton seems to be the last car out on circuit. That's 3 times we've had. Of course, except from the cars that have crashed. 3 times, every red flag. Hamilton's always been the last one out on the circuit. So he's really trying to get these laps in and see what he can do. He's driving for himself effectively for the rest of the season with Mercedes. Yes, he wants to try and get the best result possible for the constructors, because you don't want to be salty to a team that's treated you so well, but he doesn't really need to do too much more. He won't be involved in as much development talks as he would have been in previous years, because obviously they know that he's leaving from the start of the season as well. So things will change. He is just driving for the Drivers' Championship situation. He is fastest. I missed that. When he went to the top of the times, when he goes by 1.5 tenths, which is a decent amount. Does that suggest once again the Mercedes are very good with the qualifying pace right now, but not going to be so good in the race around this circuit? Could be a bit different. It's easier, well, I say easier, if you can try and hold on the straights, you're probably going to have a good chance of staying ahead in the corners, because it's very hard to overtake around this circuit without it significantly risking putting your car on the wall. But strategy-wise, that McLaren that has just been so seemingly so good at managing the car throughout a race, it could change. That being said, the Ferrari last weekend absolutely killed it. The McLarens, sure, they have been the dominant car on race pace strategy, just longevity, keeping the car in a good window, especially towards the end of a Grand Prix. But last weekend, they were good at the end of the Grand Prix because they're on fresher tyres, but they were having problems on the tyre before, as it was kind of like understandable as the position they were put in, but the Ferrari still managed to outperform them in that area. Even if Carlos Sainz didn't make it onto the podium, Leclerc managed to beat both of those orange cars. So yeah, that's something to look out for, of course. They don't need to rebuild this barrier. Just a quick update on the red flag. It's not really a movable barrier as such. They're going to have to clear the debris. Obviously remove the car from the circuit with a crane, which will be taking a little bit of a while. But there isn't a tyre barrier that they have to build on, of course. And I am happy to say that we will not be racing here this evening unless we've got the league race later on, of course. It's a circuit that is interesting. For Formula 1, it's a brilliant test. For F1 games, it can be a brilliant test, but where risk is a little bit different, it just can't be treated the same as a Formula 1 race. You've not got to pay millions of pounds if you crash that car. Depending on if you've got a race engineer, you don't necessarily have a team behind you. It's about the amount of time and effort that you've put into your race weekend. That is what kind of determines how much risk you want to put into it. So it's all based on your own decision, and that's why we don't race Azerbaijan, because a lot of things can happen, a lot of unnecessary crashes can happen, and we just don't want it. A lot of people don't enjoy the tyre temperature situation with the circuit, so we just kind of let it be and leave it alone. It wasn't in the top track vote, and we don't want to sync it with the calendar if it's not in the top track vote. So we go to Spain instead. Spain has its issues with that bump, of course, but it's alright. It should be okay. There is a bit of a pothole, which is quite annoying, but it doesn't throw you off. It's just the other bump that could throw you off. But so far, I've done quite a few laps. I've done like, I don't know, 30, 40 laps around the circuit this week myself, and I haven't experienced any problems at all. So you'd be very unlucky. It could happen. Just keep aware of it, of course, if you were to race, or if you're just to drive the circuit anyway, even if you're not racing. Anyway, I move away from league racing because we will once again go out on circuit in a couple of seconds time. We seem to have the Mercedes at the end of the pit lane, it looks like right now. Lots of people already out on circuit, or not out on circuit, but at the end of the pit lane. George Russell, it says on the timing right now, is leading the way as they go out on circuit, and they are in fact leading. What tyre are they currently on? They're on a fresh set of softs, so they're looking to try and beat Lewis here. That's what they're doing. You know, you have to beat your teammate. That's what you want to do. Perez has beaten Verstappen right now. It's a different tyre situation, so don't get too excited, and the times are very close, of course. Perez is the only repeat winner around this circuit, so he's very good, and I'm sure can perform very well. And again, it's FP1, so everything and anything can change at the moment. But Russell is definitely going to be wanting to beat his teammate. They're on the same tyre, and they've been so close this season. You know, although Russell seems to have been the one that has performed better, especially in qualifying, their pace and their performance relative seems to be pretty even, to be honest. There's not really much you can take away from the two drivers. They are one of the strongest lineups on the grid. Norris and Piastri, of course, a very strong lineup, but a young lineup as well. And then Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, young but still experienced, especially in a top team, as they were fighting in 2022 for the championships at that point. They've got a decent amount of experience. Maybe Leclerc can take that away from 22, learn on the mistakes that they made, and you never know, if things really went a different direction in this championship. People are saying that Leclerc could possibly have a look at getting a good result. Definitely Ferrari could possibly look at getting this Constructors' Championship. So anything can change right now in this season. Russell crosses the line to go once again, and we'll see what they can do with their lap right now. And Hamilton is out on the circuit as well. Ocon still not able to get out right now, and with 8 minutes on the clock, I assume that's pretty much going to be it. They don't want to go out on a qualifying simulation with a circuit, with a driver that's got to get used to the circuit once again, and then just put it back into the barrier. Well, not back into the barrier, but put it into the barrier and then back into the garage for repairs. A lot of cars have to do that right now, and if they don't have to do that themselves, they're going to get a massive advantage for the rest of the session. As I said, 8 minutes on the clock right now. We've got Leclerc on my screen still going purple, but that's just the display right now. A little bit of a bug. Hamilton has gone back out on the same set of soft tyres, interestingly. So they're looking to maybe go for another fast run. They've got the only Ferrari out on circuit behind them, Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz is down in P10 with a fresh set of softs right now on the car, looking to go fast, looking to try and beat their teammate, especially beat their teammate, because their teammate's lap time is quick, but it was from earlier on in the session, and on a medium tyre, so basically everything's going in their favour. 7 tenths advantage Hamilton has right now. We'll get to see what Russell can do though. Russell is improving, not lighting the times, not going purple, maybe purple in the last sector as Hamilton was able to do with their lap across the line. What's it going to be for George Russell? And it is going to be a P4, no purple sectors, but a good job, that's for sure. 6 tenths away from Hamilton though. Carlos Sainz immediately beats that, puts themselves in between both McLarens. Fernando Alonso up to P5. So Russell's lap, I said, a good job. Maybe it's not so much. 6 tenths behind your teammate isn't going to be ideal, of course. And an Aston Martin, no offence to the Aston this season, but it just hasn't been on the pace as the top runners. Although Alonso has been saying that a circuit like this with so much opportunity, maybe they could have a good result. It would be a pretty good weekend to sign Adrian Newey and then have a good Azerbaijan Grand Prix weekend. But it would be incredibly difficult to actually do. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe Russell will go for another lap, go for a cool-down lap right now, and then go again. And we'll see. How that goes, Hamilton, I don't know if they're on a lap. I think they might be on a lap. But they seem to be going pretty slowly. So I would suggest that maybe they're not going on a push lap. Verstappen going purple and looking to improve purple in all sectors, but doesn't get the top time. Just under half a tenth away, with that final sector really costing him that Hamilton was purple in earlier on. So still the Red Bull looking very quick, whether they're just pushing earlier or not, but they are on scrub tyres. So that scrub tyre did seem to do the job. Of course, we're yet to see Norris out on a set of soft tyres, also Piastri out on a set of soft tyres. We thought that maybe they would get onto that soft. I say that. Were they on a soft earlier? I think they might have been. I can't quite remember. A bit of a mistake from Alex Albon late on in the session. This is not the time to make mistakes late on. You don't want to have loads of time to repair, of course. In a way, it could actually be not too bad. You've only got 5 minutes at your waist, and you won't need to go out again, so you can just focus on fixing the car properly. But yeah, it can be difficult. Lance Stroll having some problems on the radio, seeming to have some understeer, unfortunately. But other than that, everything's gone pretty quiet on the circuit. We do have 2 cars racing. It seems like Hülkenberg and Piastri were very close into the first corner, which is an interesting one. Piastri does go through and ahead. Whether that would have been a toe from Piastri that he's looking for. We'll see if he goes fastest in that first sector, despite being on the medium tyre. The sector line will be coming up. 7-lap-old medium tyres. However, maybe the grip that they have throughout the rest of the circuit wouldn't really be ideal. But if they were to have that toe, which it looks like they maybe did, or maybe it was just a side-by-side moment really, they would have improved. But no, they didn't improve in the end, so they just continue on this medium tyre, and there's going to be probably no more qualifying runs from the McLaren guys, as it would be evident to show. Russell and Alonso, however, still on this soft tyre. Stroll as well, trying to go as quick as they can, but obviously complaining about that that tyre situation, or the understeer situation that they seem to have. So they won't be looking to go as high up as their teammate right now, maybe having some problems with their setup. It's a setup that you really have to get right around the circuit, and you don't have too much time to do it, especially with the red flags and the amount of red flags that we get. And once again, Piastri is right behind a Haas car. This time it's Oliver Behrman. Would they have been slowed down? I'm not entirely sure, but I think they're just doing race simulations, so they're not really too bothered about it. They're just trying to kind of do laps and laps and laps. Lance Stroll really not happy right now, and is moaning on the radio quite a bit. It's not what you want to show your new signing of Adrian Newey, that you're going to have a difficult driver to work with. Lance can do a good job, but they're just not gelling with the car at the moment, it seems. And although they're complaining about the car, Alonso's gone fastest in the speed trap. It's 323 kilometers an hour, 200 mile an hour, matching the Mercedes of Hamilton. So, you know, it still has a decent amount of pace. That car. Perez goes into the pit lane, and that will be the session done. It looks like. I just want to double check that they haven't crashed. That being said, they've come back onto screen. Alex Albon has also just gone off screen there, which is an interesting one. I think that's just a bit of a bug on our screen right there. That is all fixed now, and there should be no problems for the rest of the session. As I say, the rest of the session, there isn't actually that long to go. We've got a few cars pushing at the later stages, as I expected not to happen. Carlos Sainz is pushing on a slightly older set of soft tyres. Goes purple in that first sector. In the rest of the circuit, what can they get done? They go through the castle section. They leave the castle section, more importantly. They get through it cleanly. And then we'll go and see what they can do in the second sector line, and see what their pace will be looking like. Into turn 15. And starting this final sector, they will do so now. Or middle sector. It is middle sector finished, and not really improving too well, unfortunately. Which is understandable with an older set of tyres. They get to the final sector now, though. We'll see if they can start pushing a lot more on that engine power. Will the Ferrari look strong this weekend? As we get a sneak peek with FP1 finishing up. The timing is done. Carlos Sainz crosses the line, and it will be him staying where he is. Despite getting that fastest first sector, they won't be improving. At least position-wise, the fastest first sector there for Max Verstappen. All of a sudden, both Red Bulls looking to go for final push laps right now. Lots of people seem to be, so I've completely got that wrong. Perez currently sitting in P5, doing PBs on a set of 8-lap-old tyres, whereas Verstappen is on 5-lap-old tyres, so it can explain a few things. A lot of cars now crossing the line. Perez crosses the line to set a what kind of lap time. It's going to be a P3, and it's going to be just under a quarter of a tenth, or just over a quarter of a tenth away from his teammate. His teammate is coming through the final few corners to get to the straight, and then we'll see him go down the long straight and see what they can do. Lots of cars once again going over the line and finishing the session. Perez, Norris, Sainz, Piastri all finished, but Verstappen is the one we want to watch quickly. Behrman's going to cross the line just before them. Verstappen with the fastest first and second sector, only a little way behind Hamilton earlier on, then goes and makes it 3/10 ahead of the Mercedes driver. So looking very, very quick right there. As Tsunoda goes across the line, doesn't improve, doesn't change at any point. Alonso finishing a very strong session, it looks like. As they go across the line, they're not going to be improving. Hamilton will not be. Hulkenberg is going to be beaten by his teammate in the first practice session. Oliver, we knew he was good around the circuit in F2. We didn't know that he was going to gel with it now. Obviously, it's too early to say, as I'll say for the 100th time already. This live stream or this weekend, but it's still pretty impressive. The fact that Colapinto and Behrman have beaten their more experienced teammates is pretty impressive right now. Lots of cars pushed at the very end of the session right there, and that does mark the end of it. Verstappen tops the times, 3/10 ahead of Hamilton. Perez did a very good job to be in P3. We'll see what they can do in FP2 as they turn up the engines a little bit more, and maybe turn up the risk as well. They don't need to go out immediately in a few hours on circuit. They have the overnight situation. They don't want to crash the car, but it does mean that they can put a bit more risk into their session. Of course, FP3 is what we want to watch tomorrow in qualifying, but FP2, which is what we'll go through next, is going to be very crucial and very interesting as well. If we've already had three red flags and 2 crashes, it could get very spicy a little bit later on. We do see that a lot of cars have already done their soft tyre runs, not too many hard tyre runs, so we could see some hard tyre runs, we could see some cold hard tyre runs that could get very, very tricky. That's going to be something very interesting to watch a little bit later on. So I hope you can join us there. Don't miss it. It's going to be a good one. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in a few hours' time for the FP2 session. Bye-bye.